Islam, peace and love, Hotep, Canaanland Moorish class, the 23rd of September, 2000, 2014. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to Allah, because Allah decided that, you know what, these people out here called Negro, black, colored people are crazy people. So they need some direction. And Allah sent us a prophet by the name of Noble Drew Ali. So honors to Allah, honors to the prophet Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali made a statement. Noble Drew Ali made a statement that there was a forerunner that came, and his name was Marcus Garvey. So we give honors to Marcus Garvey. Give honors to all the Moors out there, active, new Moors, unconscious Moors, all the Moors internationally that's been coming into the birthright, standing up on what they should be standing up on, you know. Well, yeah, amalgamated Moors. So you got to remember the Moors who lost their birthright or didn't have a birthright and thought that the best thing to do is get down with the Moors, because that's really how I will have a solid footing, not one thing, one set. So honors to all that recognize something is wrong with this jurisdiction that we're in called a country, right? Now, last class spoke about the prophet, because the prophet had to get talked about. People have the right perspective. Again, we've got to bring up the fact that there were and are still today Moors, turbans and fezzes on, that were against the prophet, right? Since 1930 to now, dirty Moors amassed some millions of dollars. One, because they stole everything from the treasury. That's why, people out there right now, fan about Noble Drew Ali, whatever. Oh, why is all this confusion? Dirty Moors. Nothing else other than that, right? And dirty Moors including, so-called Europeans. Remember True Romance, dark hair, dark eyes means that, somebody was up in the... So there's people on that side that were also against this. Put their whatever they had to put in play to make sure that this doesn't reach, fruition in the perspective that they saw fruition. You know what I mean? Which is them, everything that they came here and set up being handed right back to the people who's the actual heirs, right? Treaty, right? Set up treaty of peace and friendship, all that, perpetual 50 years, every 50 years they gotta come sign and all that type of stuff. And then that's the world's longest treaty. And it's the world's longest treaty because people didn't listen to the prophet. It's the world's longest treaty because the treaty was supposed to be done in 1913. because, you know, the heirs are back. So either they get down or, you know, take on water. So are you sure about your birthright? Or are you a surety? Are you sure? Is this something that is here just like blinking is here? Just like get up in the morning, brush your teeth is here. Just like, you know, put one shoe on and put another shoe on is here. Are you sure? Or are you a surety? So let's see what a surety is, just so people can have a perspective. One who undertakes to pay money or to do any other act in event that his principal fails therein. One bound with his principal for the payment of a sum of money or for the performance of some duty or promise, and who is entitled to be indemnified by someone who ought to have paid or performed if payment or performance be enforced against him. Everyone who incurs a liability in person or estate for the benefit of another without sharing in consideration stands in the position of a surety, whatever may be the form of his obligation. Then it goes into more, but that's page 1611, fourth edition, Black's Law Dictionary. So, one bound with his principal for the payment or for the performance of some duty. So that's where we're going to go with about surety perspective, right? That people who have called themselves heads of something, whether it's Moorish Science Temple, Nation Islam, NAACP, Nation of Gods and Earth, Rastafarian movement, whatever. Anybody who claims to be a head has an obligation to do things a certain way. When those things aren't done the way that they're supposed to be done, right? And people continue doing what's not supposed to be done, when there's a way that things are supposed to be done, they're privy to certain information that common people aren't privy to, right? What they know about, without a shadow of a doubt, is the law of retribution. The heads. What they know is that if they continue to do a fraud, and you're sitting under them, and you're not questioning the fraud, the punishment for the fraud doesn't fall on the principal, it falls on the surety. Because the surety defaulted and should have said something. And then took the position of principal and hold those people liable for what they didn't do. But that's not what's going on when we look at the Moorish movement. What's going on is people have, just like when you look at U.S. democracy or city of whatever, people think that the head person is the authority. They don't have an authority. Cujo has no authority. Cujo only does what he does because of the morals. It's not my position. I could do, you know what I mean, as far as what the people want. They can't, you know, expect me to do it. They need to start giving orders. If, because the people are the authority. The beneficiaries are the authority. And the beneficiaries have to recognize who the fiduciary parties are. Just yesterday, once again, just yesterday, more contacted me yesterday about somebody talking about 350 for some papers. Process the papers. 350. Yeah, you got a card and stuff too with it. But, you know, the process the papers, 350. The nationality is a birthright. And if people are talking processes to you as a way for you to be Moorish American, that's a fraud. All you have to do to be Moorish American is proclaim that you're that. But remember, anything that comes out the mouth and anything that comes off the hand is what's in the mind. Anything that comes off the mouth and anything that comes from the hand is in the mind. So, like we tell people, nationality is a mindset. Nationality is a mindset. Nationality is not about papers and cards. Nationality is about being a principle. Nationality is about being a creditor. Nationality is about learning and evolving. Why? Because we're the only people who have not been taught nationality from birth. We've been taught colors from birth to identify people. And some of us are, you know, late 30s, early 40s, even 50s, just getting on this. So obviously, we don't know what this is. Even if we're in this, you know, 10, 15 years or whatever. Because, once again, or more, you know, he's going to do research on nationality. And you realize nationality is even vaster than how Moors talk. Even, you know, like Adat Moors. That nationality is vast, supremely vast, compared to our concept of it. So, don't get mad when we say study, study, study. And then, you know, people, oh, study what? What do you mean study, study, study? Tell me what to study. It's your birthright. Right? All we could do is point you in a direction. You know, if you're going to pass all these flowers on the path in this direction that we pointed you, right? And you realize that, you know, these flowers right here are beautiful or smell beautiful or whatever, and you don't know what flower that is. And you're not going to go find out. But when you see people, you're going to tell them about the flower. Oh yeah, the flower smelled good. The flower was so beautiful. The colors were mixing into each other. The petals were like, you know, bed sheets or whatever. What kind of flower is it? I don't know. The flower. You're about to be a surety, if that's your mindset. Right? So, our first stop today is Muslim Girls Training Guide, divinely prepared for the Sisters Auxiliary of the Moorish Science Temple. And this you can get from Khalifa Media. There's their contact. Send them an email. Pick this one up. The nationalizing of a people. One of the many programs of the divine mission of Prophet of Ali, Allah's Prophet. We rise giving all perfect praise to Allah, the great God. We give honors to His Prophet, Noble Jew Ali, and the Moorish divine and national movement of North America. The divine movement of the last prophet in these days, Noble Jew Ali, is the governance of our Moorish American vast estate under trusteeship of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Our purpose is to uplift fallen humanity through the very comprehensive divine plan of the ages. We need to learn more about the divine movement of the Prophet of Ali and the marvelous burden it carries. Then we will appreciate, honor, respect, and give thanks to Allah for preparing and ordaining His divine Prophet of Ali. So we have to, and remember, it's not ritualism, it's not some church stuff, right? One thing we notice is that Moors are coming into the perspective with more honors to the Constitution than Allah, more honors to this paperwork than Allah, more honors for this card than Allah, when the reason you have done all that stuff is because of Allah. So we have to reframe how we entertain the thoughts, because when the concept of nationality comes up, when the concept of divine creed comes up, it's it's expected that you have knowledge of it, right? So, for example, let's give a quick plug right here. Oilsbybalance.com. Oils, O-I-L-S, by B-Y, balance.com. At the hair show, you know, some people see feathers and they get paranoid and don't come and talk. But people who have a nationality as a mindset, since they could blink, when they see Moors, they have to act something. Why? Why? Negro, black, colored people passing the table, left, right, passing, right? You know, some higher frequency beings, right? Unconscious Moors stop by, build, you know what I'm saying, right? So Muslim sister came to, you know, just giving out her flyers or whatever. It's like, you know, as usual, you know, gets their attention every time, you know. Oh, how come the Quran's so small? Did you guys edit it? No, that's our personal Quran for the Moorish Science Temple of America. Oh, okay, whatever, you know. No more questions about Quran, where they come from, blah blah blah, all that stuff, because you already know. So what do you guys study? Study universal laws, astrology, you know, history. No, I mean, but like, you know, what do you do? What's your, you know, is this a religion? Is this, oh, assalamu alaikum. No, alaikum salam. So you're Muslim? Well, no, I'm Muslim. Oh, why you say Muslim though? You know, Muslim predates Muslim. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, this is a Muslim I'm talking to, right? It's like, okay, yeah. Whatever, you know, yeah, I just came to give it a flyer about, you know, blah blah. You know, Okay, so but if you're a Muslim, like, so what are you connected to though? Like, okay, because I'm Muslim, and when we start, having a conversation or whatever, and then, this is I was playing the game, right? Just go along with the conversation, or whatever. But I already know where she's going, right? Like, I need a reference point so I can understand what you're talking about. Because this is maybe about 15 minutes into the conversation, right? Then I said, okay, we're Sufis. And, oh, okay, now I understand why you have your own Quran and why you guys have fez on and why it's the Muslim. No argument about, whose prophet's the best and none of that. Whose Quran's the best. Immediately, she knew, okay, these aren't the average people. I'm saying. So, she supported the table, so we supported her stuff. You know. And they were very interested in finding out more because, there's a prophet by the name of Noble Jawali, Islam, right? There's a prophet by the name of Noble Jawali that we never heard about. Yeah. Right? And all that's just, bringing that up because we had faith in Allah. We had faith in the prophet. We put him out there, put his holy book out there, and let it be represented for what it is. We don't have to push it. It is what it is. And conscious thinking people recognize what it is. They're not confused about what it is when we start talking about, I self-law master Islamism, not stuff that they got. But again, remember, as soon as we say Sufi, they already know we're not in their jurisdiction when we say Sufi to a Muslim. Or when we say Sadhu to a Pakistani, Sri Lankan, whoever. They already know, oh, we're the guys from the hills or whatever. We're the ones that, um, you know, we're the ones that society tries to outcast, even though the foundation of society comes from these individuals. This is nationals across the world. They all know what's up, right? As you learn of the holiness of the Prophet of Ali, as you learn of the holiness of the Prophet of Ali, you will also learn of your own holiness and divine love Allah has to give you. We will also learn of the national love which Prophet Ali had for his people while he performed his duty, the nationalizing of the Moorish people of America. We, the Moorish Americans, know that we are in the right place and at the right time for the right reason. We, the Moorish Americans, know. Remember, are you sure or are you a surety? If you're not sure, you're going to be a surety. And when you become a surety, the law of retribution is going to kick your ass because you were following some dirty people. Because only dirty people want followers. We don't do followers out here. Put it on the record numerous times that Hudro works for the people. I don't work for myself as Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple. Iron Sheik or whatever, yeah, I'm doing my own thing. Right? But as far as the temple's concerned, those people have an obligation to give me orders. What do you want here? I mean, this is your space. What do y'all want? You have the meeting, people come, they say, well, what they want or whatever, and make sure they got what they want. Everybody's complaining about, they're getting tickets and all this stuff. They're getting whatever else that they're getting. So, cool. No problem. You set up the ministry. So more don't have to deal with tickets no more. Right? People say, oh, health, whatever. How is the health stuff? Oh, found the people, game, you gave do the position with the health, whatever. All right. And then some people take it on themselves, do their own thing. Now come to Kudrow, oh yeah, Kudrow, I want to try to do this thing, and then how about implement what you have to do? Because this is the people's stuff. And I'm talking as a head. I'm not talking as Grand Sheik only. I'm also talking as Grand Governor and Divine Minister for people who don't know and think that, this is just some poppy show. Right? There was nothing called Moors in the jurisdiction of Canada before Canaanland Moors. Right? And the last time there was something called Moors was when Noble Drew Ali came here. And that was like 1920 something. That was the last time utterance of Moors was here. So we, the Moorish Americans, know. We know that we're in the right place at the right time for the right reason. Why? We're not sure. We're sure. We're not second guessing our birthright. We'll go to page 8. Another reading. A few good Moors. We are uplifting into a new world of salvation and unity. As we look forward to entering heaven or earth, we are reminded of the need for qualified missionaries of Islam in America. As we expected, the movement is, and probably will, continue to be besieged by propaganda of the most vicious kind to attempt to cast a shadow over pure light. As Muslims, we simply ignore the malicious attempt of falsehood manifest to destroy and defame our organization. We will forever be strong enough in our efforts to build this divine nation under the leadership of the Prophet and guidance of Allah. With the sister circle of Islam, we must strengthen our bonds to be able and worthy of the holy blessing we are given the opportunity to receive. Highly qualified people the world over are literally begging for jobs, working for the Prophet of Ali. The judgment is now on. So once again, that Sisters Auxiliary book, the Muslim Girls Training Guide. And you can get that at Khalifa Media. Another thing I want to just bring up, because I was talking with him more about this, and we were looking for these words by the Prophet, and I found it. I just want to let the brother know I found it. Brother J. Foster Bay, while the Assistant Grand Sheik of Temple 25, told the Moors that the Holy Prophet told the Moors after a meeting, and most of the people had gone home, "Wake up, you sleepy-headed Moors, I'm going to take you up above the sun, moon, and stars, around the throne of the mighty Allah. Brother J. Foster Bay said that the Holy Prophet took them above the blue ethers, around the throne of Allah. This happened in Detroit, Michigan, in the late 1920s. Brother J. Foster Bay concluded with the words, Moors, your prophet was a prophet. Your prophet was a prophet. Like we're saying, when we brought up talking about if you want to bring up some stuff from Herschel, whatever discourse you might have with people or whatever. But we're talking about the Muslim sisters that came to the table. I don't know if you were there at that time. So when we say Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and people have the position of, well, why is he a prophet and how is he or whatever, blah, blah, blah. We already know that they're a surety. Because if somebody says prophet, that means teachings are universal. Forget the messenger. This individual obviously has some level of, universal law perspective. If they claim to have a prophet. And when you get into conversation with them, you'll realize, are they really for the prophet? Or are they really about, the man and trying to, or the woman or whatever, and trying to impose that figure on you because, they have faith in it, but they don't have faith in yours. When yours is called prophet just like theirs. And they should recognize it. And there should be no questions asked about it. But that's why, we have to do our studying to know that Muslims are Sufis. So as soon as they start talking their crap, they're like, oh, we're Sufis. And immediately their tone change. Right? You're not a splinter group of, Allah's salvation to the world. Right? We are our own entity as Moorish Americans, incomparable to anybody else who has a claim, whether it's to land, religion, whatever. We have our own jurisdiction. This is what Noble Drew Ali was ordained for, to give us our perspective. But our perspective is not new. Our perspective is our ancient foremothers and forefathers stuff that we're just bringing back to the surface so people could, recognize that we're taking a position. No different than, sundry free Moors took a position that we're our ancient foremothers and forefathers. You're not going to try us under no black codes and Negro acts and stuff like that. We're not going to go to some kangaroo court. We want to go to the Court of General Sessions. And you could do research on that court to find out, why the sundry free Moors wanted to go to the Court of General Sessions, not the Supreme Court, not the Federal Court, not the quasi-court, but the Court of General Sessions. What was their position? Same position that Moors have today, qualifying that we're not Negro, black, colored people. We're Moors, and we have our own jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction is ours as Moorish American. So when people want to say, oh yeah, don't say Moorish because, okay, you just cast yourself out of the jurisdiction. So, cool, that's on you. No Drew Ali said Moorish American. People making up stuff, saying that they're this kind of Moors and that kind of Moors. When Drew Ali specifically told the Moors that they're Moorish American. Specifically told them that. And then people are going to try to tell people they're not that. because of issues and, you can't be a Moorish American or whatever for whatever reason. Okay, so put more faith in what Allah gave us, which is a prophet for us personally. Not a man worship, whatever, but when you check out what he read, you'll be glad that Allah sent that man for you to give you what you got. And if you're not, then you probably need to go study some more because you really don't know what you got. Which brings up, you're going to go on YouTube and you're going to look up Christopher Fleming Al. Christopher Fleming -Al. So this is a European, California, that went through the process of doing the house claiming stuff, right? Did everything, went to court, won in court that that's his property. Then city of wherever he is, county of whatever, so-called mercenaries, not so-called mercenaries, started going at him, like hard, going at him hard, like going at him like 45 days, let him go, and just see him and just grab him. You're coming or whatever, right? Because he's taking the position that he got naturalized by the Moors, who are the rightful heirs of the land. So because he got naturalized by the Moors, who are the rightful heirs of the land, he has quasi-Moorish nationality. He's not violating nobody with it. He's not doing anything wrong with it. Like we said, European, saying that he's naturalized, went to the court and won this case. Now, let's put this in perspective. If he won his, right? Do you really think that them trumping up charges on Abkare Bay, that she assaulted an officer or whatever, she aggravated assault, right, of a mercenary, that they brought up that charge? Because we still haven't heard no talk about her charge for some house stuff. There's no charge of her stealing houses. There's no charge called that. You won't find me a law book somewhere where there's a charge, whether it's an act, statute, whatever.
Well, theft of someone's property.
Someone's property. If the property is abandoned, then it's not someone's. So it doesn't qualify under that. This European won. What do you think would happen if Abkare won too? And it was out there that, because remember, his stuff quiet, because I know y'all ain't heard about the European that went to court, right, and won. I know that's not out there. Why is that not out there? Because they buried his stuff. Buried. He won the case and got the house as his for real, to the point where it's still sitting there abandoned with all the stuff that he put in there. And the only reason that he's not going back there because those so-called mercenaries threaten that they'll take him out if he goes up over there. You could do whatever else you want. Just go on his YouTube. You'll hear him beating up mercenaries with law. They're not touching them. They're not acting, hostile or nothing like that. They might not read nothing that he's saying, but they're not kicking his ass. But if he goes near that property right there, We got something for you. Because the process works. Because the process works. So it means that if people realize what's up and they start getting down with doing what, you know, that's because he's European. That's what Moors we're talking about. When Moors start recognizing what they got, like Europeans recognize what the Moors got that they don't want to use, so they'll use it and make Moorish passports and stuff like that. That's when the flip will happen. No different than, you know, Brother Latif Bey, another amalgamated Moor, naturalized Moor, right? Because the only Moors that can naturalize are foreigners. And Europeans clearly foreign to here, so he has to naturalize in order to be a citizen. Ipso jure Moorish. At that. He's going up in the Shriner Lodge, telling the Shriners, you guys need to give the Moors back their stuff. Right? And Shriners threatening that they're going to take him out if you don't shut the hell up. But yeah, I hear about that. Why? Because they don't want people to realize that there is unity. Don't forget, the Filipinos say that they're morals. It's only the Europeans and the Asiatics that are lost up here. That even the Europeans gonna go. You go to Europe right now, you'll see Europeans holding up Corsica flag and repping that like this is our flag. What do you mean I can't rep this because I'm European? This is my ancestral flag. Europeans. And then there's Moors in those jurisdictions and they want to be British and whatever. When Europeans are holding up Corsica stuff. So the unity comes from the mindset. The constitutional civic mindset.
I think that has to come with study, because unfortunately the vibrational level as well as the intellectual level has been kept diverted and subdued, and that's all it's taking. That's happening anyways on an ethereal level, but you need to, like you say, have some focus.
Yep. Focus is key right now, especially right now. You know, all this madness going on. Now, with that, no. Remember, we have, you know, David Walker, Asiatic, you know, with a mindset, and you know that he had a correct mindset because he put out literature, right? So people with a correct mindset is going to put out literature. What they're putting out is a whole different subject matter, right? Oscar the Priest, you know, is a so-called black guy, first black congressman. Okay. Now, if a black guy talks like this, I'll back him. You know, we know black guys don't talk like this, right? Because again, it's a mindset, right? It is a mindset. Knowing who you are is not what you wear and what language you got and whatever like that. It's a mindset, right? I am very anxious that those of my racial group should be better acquainted with the Constitution and thereby more clearly understand their rights. First black congressman everybody knows, but they're not going to talk about Oscar the Priest because he was a constitutionalist. They'll bury him. and letters that he wrote and speeches that he did, because he was directly lined up with the prophet.
Right.
Even as a black guy, because as people label him as that. Okay, let's go with that. Let's go with the fact that he's a black guy. So this black guy came and told the other black guys what we're reading right now. This is his words. I am very anxious that those of my racial group should be better acquainted with the Constitution and thereby more clearly understand their rights. There are several states of the Union that base their suffrage upon the ability to read and interpret the Constitution. Wishing to carry on a campaign of education on the Constitution, I am writing to ask your cooperation in getting this matter before churches, schools, and societies of every description with which you are associated. Right? Just to read this.
Where is it from? If you can consistently do so, will you have the people read and discuss the Constitution and the amendments therein, section by section, until they become thoroughly acquainted with it? As loyal American citizens, we owe allegiance to the laws of our country and should know the contents of this document in order that we may protect our rights accordingly. When one understands the Constitution, he or she will be in a position to ask his or her congressional candidate for support of every section and every amendment every amendments to the Constitution. Those candidates who are not willing to do so should not be elected to office. Those who are willing to do so should be earnestly supported and elected.
Like, look at his position. That the people who claim to be candidates, or your representatives, they should support every section and every amendment of the Constitution. Right? And those not willing to do so should not be elected to office. Those not willing to stand up for constitutional rights, right, should not be elected. But what happened?
Yeah, but to me the issue is with all this stuff. I think in my mind, unfortunately, just watched one of these videos sort of about the sort of activity that's going on the opposite side.
Right.
Right? Like, this is all fine and good if we're dealing with the level playing field. Right? This awareness, and these people need to step up. But ultimately, they have been diverted from the very get-go. Right? I mean, the ones that we're talking to now, they're what am I trying to say there? They already have one eye open, right? I realize the issue for this in furtherance is that I think 60-70% of us aren't even at the issue that there is an issue.
Right.
They're still at the black and white issue, so to speak.
Race issue.
Or even beyond the socioeconomic issue. Right?
But again, right, this is why Drawley told the Moors that, think and save yourself.
I agree, that's what it's going to take.
Because ain't nothing coming. Like, he came and gone. You think something's coming again? Ain't nothing coming again.
No, but what's crazy, people are still getting up and going to the factory every day like everything's normal.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and like you say, maybe those aren't the ones, right? We can go back to other teachings that there will only be a handful.
But it's about the mindset, though.
100%.
You know what I mean? You can do whatever once your mindset's correct.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? If your mindset's correct, you do whatever. But what we want to pay attention to is him saying that he's writing to ask cooperation, right? He's asking for cooperation in getting this matter before churches, schools, and societies of every description to which his racial group belonged to.
I know, but what's crazy, he's writing the very enemy to ask them to come in and let him teach the people out of right? I mean, I'm agreeing.
No.
Right? It's just he's in for a heavy thing if those churches are gonna agree.
Yeah, but remember, he's relating to his racial group.
Yeah.
That's there. Yeah, right. Yeah. Right? He's speaking to his racial group.
Right.
Right? That is before that or that is part of churches, schools, and societies of every description.
Right.
That, put the constitutional talk on the table. Let's get the peoples there. Did they go there? No, they didn't. Because everybody's mission was to undermine your prophet. To have us in this position right now, that it's not a cakewalk. Because with what we got, with what Noble Drew Ali brought the Moors, right? If this was put into place and was implemented, because it's not like things weren't already done. Everything was done already. All we had to do was just go out there and just be Moors. And nobody wanted to do that except the handful like we're talking about.
I think more did. I think that there was a lot of work being done. We didn't take this for what it was.
And that's what I'm saying, that once you lose faith,
But the problem is for them is that generation, the tougher generation has come back again.
right?
Right?
Full circle. Which is even more so why we now are asking for people's cooperation. To stand up for really what you should be standing up for. Instead of out here marching, picketing for stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there's a constitution that binds these people that you can use against them. But, without the mindset, the people's perspective of what they have is, it's having a tree in the back with fruits just dropping off of it, but you're going to the store to go buy stuff that you got in your backyard.
Or in fact, taking the same fruit in the backyard, going and letting those people take the fruit, and then buying your own.
Then buying your own from them that came and got it from your backyard. That's really what's going on. So how about take your fruit back and then claim your tree, since it's in your yard. And when we start, like, it's like with why were the so-called churches, mosques, synagogues, whoever, how come they were all against the prophet during the time when he came? Because he brought the Moors something to save themselves, right? He brought them something to save themselves. Instead of taking what he brought, they want to take everybody else's stuff and try that. And not even once, just consider what the prophet left them, right? Now we're going to go to find this page right here. When we really look at things from the perspective of we know, we're sure about what we're talking about. We are not guessing. We are very sure about what we have. And what we have is the true salvation, right? We have the true salvation. And being that we have this salvation, it's for us to really take this and do with it what the prophet already ordained is going to be done with it. Right? So we're just going to go to Moorish Paradigm by one of the master teachers, Akim Bey. And this is page 4. A prophet from among us. The question was asked in March 1917 in an editorial in the Champion magazine, a so-called Negro publication. The editorial said, "The Negro is crying for a Muhammad to come forth and give him the Quran of economic and intellectual welfare. Where is he?" This was the prayer of our people, and Allah responded by sending us someone, a king of the East and West, a Muhammad, prophet, who would bring us a Quran of economic and intellectual welfare. That one sent to us was none other than Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The elders said the Prophet founded the first temple in Newark, New Jersey in 1913. It was during this time, between 1913 and 1916, and just prior, that the Prophet was said to have learned Islam and the truth of our Moorish heritage. It was also during this time that he was said to have been put through the test of prophethood and to have received the title Ali. During this time, he was recognized as the prophet and the one representing our people among the nations of the world. In 1916, he founded the Moorish Divine and National Movement. Between 1916 and 1919, he stayed with the original Canaanite temple, but a foreign Islamic teacher came in and began to discredit the Prophet as not teaching true Islam and for not teaching Arabic. This struggle ultimately divided the membership, and the Prophet went to New York City to link up with Marcus Garvey's UNIA movement. Marcus Garvey is said to be the John the Baptist of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He came to prepare the descendants of Amexem for the Prophet's coming. Around the circles of the Garvey movement, the Prophet was known as the Prince and Professor Drew the Egyptian adept. He began to have an influence on Garvey's UNIA movement, Hebrew movements, and other movements among our people. His influence in the UNIA can be seen in the quotes below. Garvey once said, "Muhammad suffered many defeats at certain times," he said, "but Muhammad stuck to his faith and ultimately triumphed, and Mohammedanism was given to the world. And as Muhammad did in the religious world, so in the political arena, we have had men who have paid the price for leading the people toward the great light of liberty." Arnold Josiah Ford, the musical editor of the UNIA, utilized the symbols of Islam in several of his musical compositions for the organization. Allahu Akbar was the title of one of his hymns. This is the UNIA they're talking about. Other pieces made similar references. "May our rights proclaim, in the most sacred name Allah, one God, one aim, one destiny." How come in the UNIA, right, you see the t-shirts and stuff like that, See the Rastafarians with the t-shirts, and they put, yeah, one God, one aim, one destiny, and then they put, Garvey. Marcus Garvey said this. How come they never talk about the part that says, may our rights proclaim in the most sacred name Allah, one God, one aim, one destiny? Right? Disconnection. Get people think, you know, just like BET, NBC, whoever else thinks that people are stupid. So we can put whatever on this thing. Right? We just put whatever. They'll watch it, but they're stupid. This is how they look at surety. Principals who recognize that, oh, surety is stupid. Surety doesn't even know what surety means. So we're going to tell them whatever, and they're going to buy it just because they think or they assume that we're the charge guys. We're the ones that are in charge. So one God, one aim, one destiny. But nobody's not talking about the Allah part, which means that they had to be connected to some type of Islamic teaching or perspective, which means that the Negro was actually being improved, which means the organization was actually fulfilling its purpose. And remember, may our rights proclaim. This is the UNIA talking about, may our rights proclaim. One God, one aim, one destiny. No. Many people are familiar with the phrase one God, one aim, one destiny, but very few know that it was preceded with may our rights proclaim in the most sacred name Allah. Father of all creation, Allah omnipotent, supreme over every nation, God bless our president. From murderous Cain, whose vengeful mood and doctrine cursed, preferred to spill or drink his brother's blood when love is in Allah's word. As leader of the black Jewish movement in the 1920s, Ford was particularly sensitive to the issue of signification and alternative religious identities in the UNIA. In 1924, Arnold Ford was rabbi of the black Jewish congregation Beth B'nai Abraham in Harlem. And everybody knows that's the Moorish Jews of Harlem. The big sign that everybody, Moorish Jews of Harlem. Somewhere between 1919 and 1925, Prophet Noble Drew Ali returned to the South and to North Carolina, where he was born. It was during this time that Allah spoke to Noble Drew Ali and ordained him the prophet. Allah instructed him to go west to Chicago, announce his prophethood, and begin his mission. It was also in December of 1925 that the crescent moon and star was seen hanging low in the western skies, heralding the coming of the prophet and return of the Mahdi, who would establish a new caliphate, divine government, here in the West, in fulfillment of the prophecies of Islam. So then you're going to go do your research on that, on the prophecies of Islam. Just so you can see that obviously the prophecies of Islam don't only include Prophet Muhammad, because the prophecies of Islam are talking about things that weren't even happening during the Prophet's time, Prophet Muhammad's time. Yeah, because prophecies are
in the future.
all right. So somebody has to come fulfill them. Right? They're not going to fulfill themselves, the prophecies. Allah instructed, thus it is no coincidence that in 1925, within a year of after the decaying Islamic caliphate in Turkey was taken down in the east, Allah ordained a new prophet and thus the beginning of a new caliphate here in the west. So once again, December 1925, crescent moon and star hanging in the western skies, heralding the coming of the prophet, who would establish a new caliphate in the west. In 1924, the Islamic Caliphate of Turkey was taken down. Allah ordained a new prophet and thus the beginning of a new caliphate here in the west. So when Moors talk about, oh, the prophet died before his time, he didn't get to fulfill or whatever he was supposed to. Yeah, right. Everything was done already. Barrel sealed up, ready to ship. The prophecies of the Mahdi. Muhammad al-Khatam al-Anbiyan has said, the sun will rise, the sun will rise from the place of its setting. The sun will rise from the place of its setting. Abdullah ibn Amir reported, I heard the messenger of Allah say, the first of the signs that will come out will be the rising of the sun in its place of setting, and the coming out of the beast to the people at forenoon, and whichever of these two comes to pass before its companion, the other will be near its footsteps. And that's from Mishkat, Mishkat, UL, Masibi, Masibih, Mishkat hyphen UL hyphen Masibih, volume 4, page 53. Thus, as the Muslims in the East are even to this day awaiting the Mahdi, little do they realize that he has already come. Oh, so if he has already come, how come certain people are going to come out and say that they're the Mahdi and stuff like that? If he came already. But then remember, sureties, because they're not sure, they doubt the prophet and stuff like that, right? They end up getting 125 years and stuff like that on some trumped up charges. Mm-hmm. Because you wanted this, the Mahdi, the real Mahdi, then you're dissing Allah, so take what you get. Okay. Simple. Real simple. Right? Real simple. He has come from a rejected and despised people who they would never have thought would produce their long-awaited Mahdi. What's people's perspective of Negro, black, colored people? 1920 something. Right? These people, all they're good for is labor and all that stuff. We can't even use them no more because now, it's technological age and industrial age is coming to an end. So what are we going to do with these dumb people that we're just picking cotton? This is their mentality of us. So little did they even they didn't even think that no prophet's coming. Right?
Well, so maybe those were the dumb ones thinking about it, right? Because I'm sure the higher ups would have known that you can't suppress the people and not expect some sort of transformation to happen. Right? So that's only from the perspective of that of the colonizer.
Of the colonizer.
Right? We were wrongfully praying to certain gods back then, right? If that was sort of around the slave trade or post or pre or during slave trade, right? Or at least open enslavement.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
The same way they, the Arabs, were seen when the Prophet Muhammad came from among them. Thus, We are now the portion of the Asiatic family from whom the last prophet has come from. But no, I swear by the Lord of the regions in the east and the west, that we can certainly replace them with those better than them, and we cannot be defeated. Al-Quran, Surah 70, 40 to 41. And verily, we have raised in every nation a Rasul, messenger, proclaiming, serve Allah and shun Tagut, all false deities. Of the people were some whom Allah guided, and some on whom error became inevitably established. So travel through the earth and see what was the end of those who denied the truth. Al-Quran, Surah 16, verse 36. This is the reason why the Arabs and many of the current Muslims of the East have and will oppose us as we rise. It is in the very prophecies of which they themselves hold in their hands. When the man of this matter, Al-Qaim, appears, he will receive harm from people worse than what the Prophet has received. This is Muslim stuff talking. Okay? When the man of this matter appears, he will receive harm from people worse than what the Prophet has received. And that's from Kitab al-Ghaiba. Kitabal hyphen Ghayba, comma Numani, page 421. When Ar-Qaim rises, he will face so much difficulty from the people that even a Nabi during the period of ignorance did not face. When a Nabi was appointed, people worshipped stones and wood. However, when Ar-Qaim arises, people will interpret the ordinances of Allah against his interpretation and will argue with him and dispute by means of the Quran. By Allah, the justice of the Qaim will enter inside their homes, just as the heat and cold enter them. And that's from Ithbat al-Hudat, ITHBATAL-HUDAT, Volume 7, page 86. This was opposition actually fulfilled by a Muslim named Sati, S-A-T-T-I, Majid, M-A-J-I-D, who was so outraged by the Prophet bringing a new quote-unquote Quran. He wrote the Prophet demanding that he change the name and burn the book. He even tried to get the United States government involved, but the government did not get involved and told Sati Majid to go to the men of knowledge and religion to seek redress. Now, this is like with people, you know, focusing on the negative things that's going on with regard to Moors, right? As to, oh, no, I can't get down with that because, you know, all Moors get arrested or whatever like that, right? But they'll never ask the question or recognize, well, Taj's been teaching for a good little while. How come nobody never assassinated him yet? How come they never popped him off? If it's such a threat to, you know, whatever it is where the threat is, whoever is out there that's active, how come those people never got popped off yet? How come everybody else can get choked out on corners and stuff like that, shot up and all that, but nobody's not bothering Moors? Only time they're bothering Moors is when they're exercising their rights. Right? Same thing with this so-called Muslim go into the U.S., right? You're a tattletale more. Go tell on the prophet, oh, this guy is whatever. And then they smack him and tell him, you better go to the people, because that's not our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
You never read the man's Quran and said, give Christianity back, because that's, you know, we're a Christian nation, even though we're founded on Islamic principles. But, you know, we're not exposing that we're Islamic. So you need to get the hell out of here with that
don't
stuff.
want to get involved in that fight.
In that fight anyways, right? Because they know it's a lost battle, right? You're not going to win against the prophet,
Well, it would also expose them.
right? Just like Tyler says, when, you know, we stand up and we recognize who the fraud is,
Right.
and they have nowhere to run,
Right.
they're going to have to take all their friends, put them in the cell,
Right.
and then they're going to have to go in the cell, lock the door, and throw out the key.
Yeah.
Because that's their only option to be free when the Moors wake up. Better that than, you know, have to swim back to Europe.
Something's going to happen too, right?
Right. Because, yeah.
This is a movement that's beyond physical, in my mind.
Way beyond.
And it's happening. And I think there's a few crazy elements out there, but basically, I mean, a lot rules all. So
Right.
to me, the transition has to happen.
Most definitely. He then went to the Muslim scholars in Egypt to get them to pronounce a fatwa against Prophet Noble Drew Ali, which they did. They also, however, spoke against Sati Mahdi and his qualifications. Right? So, you know, so he goes to Egypt, complain to them.
Right.
They're like, yeah, sealed. But you know what? You're doing some fraudulent stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? We have pull up ear socks too. So then, doesn't that void everything? Doesn't that make his claim
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely.
not really credible if they're challenging him?
Or even you can think of him being an agent.
Yeah, so,
right? Looking to try and
just
sort of
cause
discord.
Yeah, just cause something.
And then he gets pulled out.
Right.
Right. I mean, who's writing this too? This is us, right? Writing
Yeah,
this?
this is Hakeem Bey right here.
Okay. So perspective isn't going to be tainted.
Right. You know, and then, you know, when Moors go look up Sati Majid and they don't find anything,
right.
You know, don't be surprised. Because, you know, if you say he's an agent, you were trying to stop the prophet, and he went to Egypt and all that stuff, and then they actually did put the fatwa on Noble Drew Ali, then that means they know about him, right? That means they're very clear about who Noble Drew Ali is if they got fatwa against him.
But that's what I was saying about the perspective. In knowing, so the fatwa had to have been sort of expressed publicly, per se, right? So that's what
I don't think it's going to be something.
But then, to me, then somewhere in there, that guy has made a fraudulent case, obviously, probably against the prophet.
Probably.
Which, well, those guys are fraudsters too, though, right?
So, yeah,
the very
it's a big
people,
fraud.
the very people who are putting
the same
out the
ones
fatwa
putting out the fatwa are a fraud too. Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah. Right. It was said in the prophecies that the Muslims in the East have that the Mahdi will invite a new mission, a new tradition, a new method, yet they will rebel against that which they themselves know. He appears with a new method, new principles, and new judgments. He will be severe with the quote-unquote Arabs. Ithbat al-Hudat, ITHBATAL-HUDAT, Volume 3, page 540. When Qayyim emerges, he will come with a new commission, a new book, a new conduct, and a new judgment, which will be strenuous for the Arabs. His work is nothing but to fight, and no one will be spared. He will not be afraid of any blame in the execution of his duty. And that's a man by the, or Imam Jafar as-Sadiq. JAFARAS-SADIQ. Truly blessed are we, the strangers. There is no one else who fulfilled all of these prophecies other than Noble Drew Ali. The Prophet did bring us a Quran, as our people requested in the magazine article. He fulfilled the Islamic prophecies concerning the Mahdi, as seen in the above quotes. He even fulfilled the Christian prophecies found in the book of Revelation. Notice the seventh seal on the Quran. Notice the seventh seal on the Quran. 5:1. And I saw the right hand of him that sat on the throne, a book written within the backside, sealed with the seven seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, Who is worthy to open the book and loose the seven seals? And no man in heaven nor earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither look thereon. And I wept much because no man was found worthy to open and read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders said unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and loose the seven seals thereof. Now that we have a little background on Prophet Noble Drew Ali and his rise to prophethood, let us now look at what exactly he did to raise and save us as a nation. The divine and national movement for uplifting a nation, Prophet Noble Drew Ali said to the Moors, I brought you everything it takes to save a nation. Now take it and save yourselves. What was it that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought to save us as a nation? When he made this statement, it is said that he was holding up the Holy Quran of the MSTA and the questionnaire containing the 1928 Charter and laws of Moorish Science Temple. So keep in mind, right? So Drew Ali's holding these up, okay, telling the Moors that they are a nation. And then you're gonna match this up with the lecture with Brother Jabbar and David Bailey Ill, when David Bailey Ill talked about the little Moor and the little sister that Noble Drew Ali brought on the stage, put the flag around them, and told the Moors that they are a nation. That's the exact same thing that is being talked about here. That time. We're just putting everything together now. So he's holding up the Quran, put the flags on the children, and said, Moors, you are a nation. Take this and save yourself. But then, people can't do that. Because, these books are so small. No way salvation is just in this. There must be something else for us to get to the salvation of when, everything else is hinged on this. This is the what you need to get the ball rolling. And then once you get the ball rolling, then you could start, right? Making that move. Oh. The Prophet said he brought us everything it takes to save a nation. Well, first of all, what is a nation? And how do the above documents, Quran and Charter, play a role in saving a nation? The key things to existence of a nation, common to both of the above definitions, are 1. A race or people of common origin. 2. Inhabiting a territory or portion of the earth. 3. A distinctive and common culture. 4. A common language. 5. Historic existence and continuity. 6. Unity under a single government. All right, yeah. Did I give you the... No, you didn't pick it up, right? Yeah, I don't think you picked it up. These were... If the above 6 items are key to the existence of a nation, to save a nation, you must repair or restore any of these items which that nation has lost or was destroyed. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us every one of these keys to saving us as a people, a nation. Our Holy Quran brought to us by the Prophet lays out our racial and common origin. The Holy Quran also describes the metes and bounds of the territories given to our ancestors by our pharaoh in Egypt after the cataclysms of 1500 BC. The Prophet in the Quran, Moorish literature writings, and oral statements taught us some of the distinctive and common aspects of Moorish civilization and culture, established English as our modern common language. He reconnected us back to the historic legacy of our Moorish ancestors in Mecca and Morocco in July 20th, 1928. By giving us our nationality of Moorish Americans, he united us under one single government. One, on the national side, he established us as national citizens of the national government of the United States of America, Moorish Americans. On the divine side, he reestablished our divine government via the divine constitution and laws of the Moorish Science Temple of America and established a new caliphate, divine government, a divine and national government, two governments well involved in one. The reason the Prophet named this movement the Moorish Divine and National Movement is because it is a movement designed to restore us within our own divine government and thence within a national government of the United States of America. Just like Brazil is a national government and Cuba and whoever else, right? So like we said, our own jurisdiction. But we would only have our own jurisdiction if we recognize the Prophet and that he's not just some man or whatever, but Allah actually sent him to us. So we honor him and we hold him up, but we don't worship and all that, right? When the Moors stop worrying about clout that dirty Moors got, they don't got no clout, they don't got no authority or nothing like that. Tell you don't do something. Tell people go get the FBI papers. It's online. All those guys' names that are in the FBI papers are still around today. They're not, like you said, they thought the people are stupid. They thought people are not going to wake up. They even consider that there's an Aquarian age going to be coming and all that. They just figure, we got this. Mess this game up. Didn't know that they told on themselves. Stupid. Right? And new Moors are coming in with their eyes wide open, seeing and knowing. And they're picking off these dirty Moors one by one. Right? Why? Because they were given some reference points as to how dirty Moors approach, how dirty Moors talk, how when people complaining about why we're going at dirty Moors. We're not going at no dirty Moors. We're putting them out there so when new Moors come, they already know. Especially if they're watching Canaanland Moors, they're gonna know who's dirty. As soon as they come up to them, they smell them and know. Oh, sorry, not gonna deal with that guy. Oh, that's just over there. Why? Because we made people know. Because nobody wasn't letting people know. Now they're starting to get unpopular. Now their membership's dwindling down because people who've been with them 10, 15 years realize that these guys are a fraud, getting $350 for nationality card, whatever, and you got their website saying $25 when they're getting $350 from people coming in. Not the initial people that paid the $25. Those people, they're already in, so they're not even looking at what's going on because was not playing any position of beneficiary in the Moorish movement. They're taking the position of they're a member of something. And once you become a member of something, then unless you're echelon, you don't have access to what's going on in here. Unless you're in the adept chamber, right? How come Noble Drew Ali said, I took away all the secrets? But then Moore's going to say, oh yeah, you're not supposed to say what's going on in the adept chamber. Why not? People are supposed to know what's up. Especially now, age of Aquarius and all that. You know where the people would be right now if these Moors didn't hide stuff? Pretend like stuff didn't happen and that Noble Drew Ali didn't say certain things and all that. when they know exactly the position, they know exactly the position, right? Because we brought up the Europeans earlier, right? We're just gonna take a few to touch on some of the prophecies that Noble Drew Ali put out there with um, the stuff that Drew Ali put out there involving, the European, just so we can get a little perspective of what's up, right? About America and the Europeans. The Europeans went to the Moroccan government and asked for permission to come over here to develop this land. They were given a 50-year mandate to do so. Then the Europeans went to an old sheikh and asked him to give them some people to help them to develop this land. The sheikh told them, take those Moors because they are not going to do anything. And you know, that's how they got the concept of, the Moors put black people in slavery. Yeah, because they were doing nothing. They were just standing around. People building stuff, building roads, putting up street lights, doing whatever. And these particular individuals, they're chilling. Chilling. No different than, got this nation. Everybody's Moors. Yeah, we're Moorish American. And then it's time for everybody to pull out their, you know, file folder of what have they done for the Moorish movement. And, some people that hope they don't ask me any questions, I hope they don't come around to me when should I have something to show that you did something for this. Something. If you say you're a Moor, we're not talking about people who just came into this, they're studying and they don't even have, concept yet. We're talking about people who been on this. People in the temple 40, 50 years. And they don't have a book. They don't have a poem. They don't have a one-page handout. Nothing. To show Moors that, this is what my experience is of this. So people could be inspired. Mad work to do. The European is going to have to pay our people off for the work they did in slavery and pay off in compounded interest. One day, Europeans are going to lock the food up in the warehouses, put soldiers around them to guard them, and you will go anywhere he says to get something to eat. You see the thing with people eating out, Walmart threw out food or whatever in the garbage dump, and then people, the dark-skinned people, Moors, unconscious Moors, go and taking food out the garbage dump. People with cars and stuff. So, we're not talking about bums. Walmart threw away some shipment of food or something. It's online somewhere, right? And these Negroes were taking the food out the garbage dump to take home. That's no different than lining up for sneakers or whatever. Madness going on right now. One day you will go to the store, and there will be soldiers there with guns with bayonets on them, and they will not let you enter. They will order you to move on. One day the European is going to let you down. You are going to have to put up a 90-day supply of food to last you until your brothers come to your rescue from the east. Keynote for the Moors. The European will not be able to remove all the wealth from the land. After he goes back to Europe, mountains of gold will be revealed to the Moors. Well, stay steadfast, Moors. Don't worry. It might not seem like we're going to get something, but trust me, the generations after us, they're going to get something. They're going to have something. Why? Because we're going to recognize what Noble Drew Ali gave us, and we're going to go out there and we're going to make sure we tell everybody about this. Because that's the only way they're going to know. So we already know European school ain't going to tell them nothing. We already know that, right? European school, they're not telling our people anything to free them, right? We know all the other nations of the world. They already got their Saturday school and Sunday school and Friday night school and whatever like that. You don't think they're gonna come tell you. Right? And then keep in mind that all of them have a prophet that came to them and told them what they got to do, and they listened to their prophet and they carried out what the prophet said, and now they're where they are and where we at. Because why? Abandon the prophet. And remember, everything falls on the nation. Because, this is nationhood. This is not some club thing. So, you know. If the European be just, they would have an Asiatic vice president. And if they had an Asiatic president, they would have a European vice president. I'm going to stop the European from thinking and start you Moors to think for your own good. Right? This is back then. There's people still today that haven't started thinking for our own good. We're still thinking for the good of other people. Right? Get a good European education and I can use you. There's any young Moors on there. But remember, European education is a Moorish education. Don't get it twisted. Because, European never had anything. And Europe is, Queen Europa. So don't throw away your stuff because people try to make it seem like everything's not ours. Everything's ours. Christianity, all that stuff is ours. My brother Abdullah said, claim back your stuff. Stop giving away your stuff to people because you think that came from them because they only talk about it. No, it's about perspective. Once we have the right perspective, then we will claim everything. It's like been waiting for this one. Been waiting for this one. But Sister Adama Shanti is, asking questions about Moors and stuff like that. Been waiting for her. But she's asking questions. And she's asking the right questions. Why is she asking the right questions? Because she was homeschooled. She's not no idiot. Her dad's not no fool or whatever. Put her in some European school. She got homeschooled. So eventually, she would get to that point where, hold on a second, what am I? Because I read all this stuff about, I'm homeschooled. I've been reading about stuff about my culture or whatever. I'm conscious. I know who I am, but something's just not right or whatever. This is all the perspective that she has. You know what I mean? Something's not right. You know what I mean? And I hear what you're saying. I need, get some more. But I'm very aware about my connection to more. I just don't know how. Where she's at. Right? Homeschool. The Holy Prophet, while speaking, would jump up in the air and laugh and say, Rome, 2,000 years ago you got me, but I got you today. Because It's the same teachings from the first prophets to the last prophet. It's the same teachings, right? The same principles. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. Always. Every prophet. Just go check. Quetzalcoatl, whoever. Everybody. One of those five principles is their pillar as a prophet, right? Or they might have a few of them. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice is a theme amongst the prophets. Um, I'm going to leave the European here just long enough to teach you how to run a government. I'm going to leave them here just long enough to teach you how to run a government. Because, clearly we didn't know how, right? And then, you could just get the oral statements. Oh, yeah, and this one's for the Europeans. Noble Drew Ali said, the European is your fellow man, right? Just so you know that, Moore's got an obligation. But, as a European, you also have an obligation to talk up for Moors. Especially if Moors is going to talk up for you because, they want Europeans start talking about Moors and all that stuff. They want to take you up. Europeans know what I'm talking about. Asiatics might not know because, Asiatics have this perspective of, Europeans are cracker and they're talking to them. But I deal with Europeans, and they know what's up. They know about government fraud and all that. They know about renouncing fraudulent citizenships and, claiming new citizenships, claiming their ancestry and whatever like that. They know all this, right? They also know that their ancestry goes back to Moors. It's not a secret to them. It just wasn't put to the perspective of them that, Europe isn't a nationality. European isn't a nationality. And Scottish, Irish, and all those people, they have Moorish heads on their coat of arms, right? And Europe's in Asia, right? Europe is in Asia. So if Europe's in Asia, that means Europeans are Asiatic. That's just what it is. Europe's in Asia. There ain't no continent called Europe, right? Probably got two questions or something. So let's pick those up quick fast. Um, brother, brother Eric sent, because when more start studying, they start realizing stuff, right? So this is what this more realized, okay? Islam, brother Cujo. I've been doing a lot of thinking here lately. And now that I'm beginning to understand certain things now, there is a choice to make. I work for a place called, whatever. I mainly work as an advocate for individuals with disabilities, basically advising them of their rights if they feel as though they've been discriminated against. But now I find out that as US citizens, they have no rights, only privileges. I also know that universal law and karma are real. And also, if you know a thing, you are responsible for what you know. Being that I know that and civil rights won't work or won't bring them a true remedy, it's tough. Because higher self says, tell them about nationality and birthrights. Lower self says, you still got to eat, and if you start down that path, you won't have a job long. Perfect example, if a person is in a nursing home, they have next to no rights and very little privileges. And now when I think about the contract law, I understand why. Part of me wants to point them in the right direction, but I know that it's something that they're going to have to do on their own as part of saving themselves. A lot of them aren't even Moorish. Also, I know I still have to save myself, but I feel bad having people advocate for something that's not going to really help them. I know I have to figure this out on my own, but damn. Right? So this is where Moors are at when they study. Right? Start thinking for yourself and realizing, you know, um, start realizing certain things. Right? Um, Brother Davis L. Um, how do I carry on my tax exempt status with the job? If you didn't receive the job as Elder Bay, right, then tax is going to apply at that point. The issue, just like Brother Orr was saying, as soon as you start talking constitution or whatever like that, you become a threat and they're going to let you go, right? Um, and everybody's situation is different. You got to deal with your situation how you see fit so that, you know, you're not jeopardizing your family and, you know, whatever else that you got that could be in jeopardy if you do things haphazardly or prematurely, right? So, you know, we tell Moors, don't do until you're sure. Don't do because you heard somebody else do and it worked for them, so you're going to do. Don't do that, right? Do when you're sure. Do when you have whatever it is that you're trying to do here, just like you're blinking, just like you're um, breathing, just like you're get off the bed in the morning, or get off the floor, or get off the couch, or wherever you were sleeping for that night. It's not something you think about. You just swing your feet and you just get. That's how nationality has to be for the people. That's how nationality has to be. It has to be that. It has to be that much a part of you, not something you heard somebody or whatever like that. It has to be part of you. If it's not part of you, don't be talking about you're going out to go try stuff, because try stuff is gonna get you in trouble, guaranteed. It's not guessing. We're warning people, just like we put out certain information. We're putting out certain information so you don't have to study, because you know you're 100 years behind. So we're trying to speed up. That's why we just put stuff out, put it all out there. Who cares? Because the time we're behind, we don't have time for, you know, doing no 52-week course on, you know, learning how to be a Moor. We don't got time like that right now, right? Right now it's about immediate, immediate activity, immediate doing things, right? Um, Somebody had a question up in the chat too. If anybody got anything in the chat, just shoot it over. Um, Brother Colum asks, so the Europeans can naturalize with the Moors, because the European has been wanting to study with us. Just a thought that's been on my mind, right? So the idea is to remember that, you know, it's nothing new to them. Majority of Europeans have the concept in their mind, like they're blinking, breathing, getting off the bed, brushing their teeth, whatever. They have the concept that they lived under the rule of the Moors at one time, right? They know, trust me. You know, they just can't say anything. But if we bring it up, they'll talk about it, right? As Moors. So yeah, bring them in, because half of them, remember, you know, during the so-called, you know, Underground Railroad, all that stuff, it was Europeans that were helping. It was Europeans' house that people were hiding in the basement and stuff like that. You know, during the Inquisition, it was Europeans, wealthy Europeans too, that were taking the Moors, put them in their basement to hide them from the Inquisitionists. right? Which is the same thing what's going on right now. But tables are turned right now because Europeans kicking Europeans' asses, and they don't have any remedy. And the only remedy that they got is get down with the Moors. And you gotta stand for that on some Rick Smith, Peter Moon stand for that. On some Peter Lamborn Wilson stand for the Moors. Because we're it. Nothing arrogant, but Europeans know we're it. When Europeans start singing songs on YouTube about, oh yeah, they want melanin and stuff like that, and you have European children coming out, I want to be black and stuff like that, you know that they're trying to get back home, right? They're trying to have something. It's not fun being nigger, and they're new niggers. They're not even, they just got that status as far as politically, not origin or whatever. As far as the political status of stateless person or whatever, it's just kicking them right now. That, hold on a second, we're the next ones in line. So they're renouncing all that stuff that's causing them issues, and they're going back to wherever they came from. Or renounce all that stuff that's giving them issues and claim to be ipso jure Moorish subject. Naturalized. Because what's going to happen when you start bringing Europeans? When you start bringing the Europeans and start inviting them, they're not going on no rostrum and be no heads of nothing like that, right? They're coming in to assist in the uplifting work. You're going to find out that they got a grandma, who has an estate, what I'm saying? And they got all these, books or whatever of Moorish history on their estate, and then somebody's grandma's a shrine, whatever, any type of order, whether it's elks or, daughters of whatever or mothers of something, right? They're gonna have all this stuff. That's the Moor stuff that they're gonna be bringing now, right? Kidnapping their own grandma's stuff to bring to the Moors, you know. So, I wouldn't count them out, but I wouldn't just they gotta prove that they're worthy because this is a burden. I mean, for a European to say forget the Europe crap or whatever like that, we're gonna do it the Moorish in America. We're not talking about in Europe. We're talking about in America. Them saying, "No, we're gonna go back to the treaty stuff and all that, Constitution, be civic minded, exercise what the Moors allowed us to exercise." Different game, because majority of the Europeans who I dealt with, when it comes to Moors, they're down. They're game. Just to say that they helped, not even to get nothing, just to be able to say, yeah, what I mean, like I saw what was up. I recognized what was up, you know. And then you start getting them talking, and then those are going to be the ones that's going to get the Negro black color people, because that's their God. So Europeans start talking about something, Negro black color is going to be down with it. You're not going to listen to us, but let the Europeans start talking about Moors and Moorish history and all that type of stuff, and how connected, like we're saying, like we brought up Latif Bey, you know what I mean? He's telling Moors, this is your stuff. He's telling Shriners, give back Moors their stuff, right? Presenting that perspective to them is detrimental to Europeans' livelihood, because how the Inquisitionists are looking at them is like sellouts. That they're selling out their nation, when the European nation in America. There's only a Moorish nation here. divided up into family names: Mexican, Cuban, Paraguayan, Chilean, Trinidadian, Jamaican, blah blah blah. Yeah, misnomers, but it's family names. Big family scattered up, no different than continent. Big family scattered up. You know, what I mean? So we wanna send a shout out. I mean, to European sons who's been battling, getting their ass kicked and all that for the Moors. You know, um, being um, ridiculed by their own, and whatever else that they got by their own, just because they're standing up for the Moors. All the Rick Smiths and Peter Moons and all those people, honors to y'all, because but by the fact that it's getting put out there, right? The fact that it's being presented, right, by Europeans on a vast scale, like like we talk about Peter Moon and Rick Smith, like stuff they're talking about, Moors don't even talk about, but it's relative to the Moors, and they're putting it out there, and they're not getting touched because you know they have an obligation, and they recognize that obligation. You know, you might not find them online, but there's pictures of Peter Moon, with the fez on, the sash and all that. You know what I mean? There's been meetings that he's been to with Moors where he's not, he's coming with it. You know? So we got about half hour. Moorish Heritage and History School, eyes wide open, 9:30. Don't forget, this Thursday, Sons of Allah, Freestyle Thursday. So make sure you call in, ask a question, you know, tell us about something that happened to you, you know what I mean? To inspire these people to recognize that they got a nationality, that they have a birthright, that they better claim. If they don't claim it, secret societies claiming it, and they'll continue to rule over the people who don't make claims. So, we will that everybody's going to be sure and not be sureties and fall under the jurisdiction of these dirty bastards who, are only about playing follower club game and steal your birthright. Today, Muslims Girls Training Guide, Khalifa Media. The article, the Oscar the Priest article, was from Moorish Guideposts, New Jersey territory, with Grand Chief Naturel. MoorishGuidepost.com, the website. If I'm not mistaken, I think $60 a bundle. Quran questions and Holy Quran. And just close out with something that I found in a book at the school where I'm at right now. Because when we realize what we got, we'll respect it. Moors is a term that commonly refers to Muslims who speak Arabic and live in northwestern Africa. The term also refers to Muslims of Spanish, Jewish, or Turkish descent who live in northern Africa. Muslims of Arab descent who live in Sri Lanka are also called Moors. Moro, another form of the word, refers to Muslims who live in the southern Philippines. In ancient history, the Romans called the people of northwestern Africa Mori. and the region they lived in, now northern Morocco, and western Algeria, Mauritania. These people belonged to a larger group of African people called Berbers. The Moors joined These people belonged to a larger group. Many of the Berbers became Muslims, and they adopted Arabic in addition to their own Berber language. They became known as Moors. The Moors joined the Arabs in conquering Spain during the 700s. Much of what is regarded as Moorish civilization in the Middle Ages was largely Arabic. The Moors lost much of their land in Spain, but by the 1200s, by the late 1200s, in 1492, Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain conquered Granada, the last Moorish kingdom in Spain. In 1500, they ordered the people of Granada to either become Christians or leave the region. Those who stayed were called Moriscos. See also Alhambra, Arabs, Boabdil, and Granada. Now that's a book in library when I was doing library duty today. So, Islam to all the Moors, 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, to his holy prophet, noble Jew Ali. Islam. Peace and Hotep. We'll be live at 9:30. You already know. Oh yeah, and don't forget, um, oilsbybalance.com and and lishawnaturals.com. LISHAW naturals.com. Support some independent stuff. Islam.